All right, welcome back. You all have made it to the final week, which is week 10 of Let's Walk Florida. So, congratulations for making it this far. And today, with our final lesson, we're going to talk about long term success because we know that your health journey is not done. Just because Let's Walk Florida is wrapping up does not mean you are finished in your journey of health. So our lesson 10 overview is going to talk about how to handle relapse. And you may have heard that term or that phrase that relapse is part of recovery. And in this instance, with healthy lifestyle, diet, exercise, weight loss, and so on, it's no different. Okay, it's part of the journey. And so we'll talk about how to handle relapse and missteps and things like that. Also talk about adding Incline, some of the benefits and how you can do that. And then finding reliable information because we want you to leave this program well equipped to find reliable sources, resources, and find new information. Of course, we know the world of wellness and health is ever evolving, and there's always a lot of new information coming in. We need to make sure that that information is solid information before we go sharing it. And then there's more in your e-guide as well that talks about circuit training. So, some things to consider as we go along. I want you to be thinking about these different factors, and maybe you can work these into your within 1 week goals. Okay, so this is our last week. You still should be setting those weekly goals and trying to keep track of them, as well as staying engaged with your accountability partner. So, some things to consider. What is your recovery plan when you have a misstep? Do you have a plan? Do you know what your triggers are? Those are things you need to be thinking about. And then how do you feel with incline? How do you feel when you walk uphill? What's the difference for you? And might that be something that you can add into your daily routine? And then is circuit training right for you? Maybe you're very familiar with circuit training and you do it quite often. Maybe you've done it before and you maybe want to know some more information. So there's more information in your e-guide. And then how are you going to be staying accountable? Will you stay in contact with your accountability buddy? Do you want to reach out to me from time to time? You want to continue journaling your food, your activity minutes, and so on. These are all different ways that we can increase our accountability and keep it flowing through our lives. And I know for me, I have accountability partners all over the place. I have them on social media, I have them here at work, family and friends. I have people that I go to when I'm having a hard time. And those same people cheer me on when they see me, killing it with the gym or my nutrition or something like that. It pays to have good, solid people in your corner. So, something I really want you to keep in mind that has resonated with me for years is that your journey isn't linear. It's not supposed to be linear. It's not supposed to be, oh, I went all the way to the top of the mountain and that was it. Then I stopped. What goes up must come down. It's a part of your journey is to go up and down. That's why I have that little EKG graphic there on the right is, where hopefully it's not that erratic, but it's okay for it to ebb and flow. Okay. It's normal, natural, and common to revert back to our comfort, which might be our old habits. It might be unhealthy choices. The key is just to prepare and stay mindful. And then when you miss your footing, write your path. Go back to where you know to go. Okay. So step one in these triggers, these relapses, these things are just to handle it. Know what your triggers are and how you're going to act when you encounter them. So personally, for me, my trigger is nighttime. Nighttime is when, if I'm going to have a hard time, it's going to be more so at night. If I'm going to want to snack and eat, maybe make some unhealthy choices, it's going to be at night. So I do every single day think about what am I going to do tonight so that I don't make an unhealthy choice. And so sometimes it might be I have pickles, that'll be my little snack at night, and that's fine. Pickles are fine, and that'll give me that satiated feeling from wanting something savory or salty. It's much better than reaching for a bunch of empty calories. And so it will I'll set myself up for success in that way. And there's other, tactics and other triggers, of course, but that's just a little brief example. And then focus on positive thoughts and accomplishments. So yeah, maybe you ate 3 donuts at breakfast and now you feel like, well, I blew my whole day. I'm a terrible person. I'm never going to meet my goals, blah, 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 blah. So really you just had a misstep, which was this snowflake, but your thoughts allowed it to snowball. And now you're starting to create maybe an avalanche. We want to avoid that. And you are able to do that by just rerouting your thinking and thinking about the positive things. So if you had 3 donuts, think about why and what you'll do differently next time. Think about how far you've come, all your accomplishments. Maybe you had those 3 donuts, but maybe you did a great job with your hydration. Maybe you got lots of steps in today. Maybe you hit your exercise goals. Really cling on to those positive accomplishments and let them be the driving force that gets you back on your path. Okay. Remember, you're in control. You have all the tools that you need to succeed. You might not have every single widget, but you have a very basic toolkit, and that's all you need to be able to make those healthy choices. So, another tactic here is to prevent the relapse. Okay. So, you want to make sure you're responding appropriately to missteps. So, that's those factors we just talked about. And then you need to stay calm and reflective so you can understand, again, why it happened and how you're going to avoid it for next time. And as long as you don't keep having 3 donuts every single day, then it's really just a misstep. It's not a relapse. But if you do continue to make those bad decisions, chances are it's going to create a habit and then it's going to turn into a relapse. So that's that snowballing effect again. And that's what you really want to try to avoid. Remember, free will is a very powerful thing. It can be just as good as it can be bad. And you have to decide to use it to your advantage. And to your advantage is, this is going to make me feel good right now, but it's also going to make me feel bad later. Okay. So being able to recognize that, say, oh, if I don't eat this now, I'm going to feel so much better later. Right? You want to look at those long-term lasting effects. It's a very powerful thing. Use it to your advantage. I did want to mention too, the reason I use this graphic here is I really want you to think of yourself as these 2 people. We have this person who needs help getting up the mountain. This person already reached up top. You are both of these people. When you are on it, when you're on your game and you're meeting your goals and you are doing so great and inspiring yourself, inspiring others, you're that person on the top of the mountain. If you make unhealthy choices, you're this person, but that's okay because you can help yourself. You can make that choice. You can help that person get back up to the top of the mountain. Again, that's where we see this journey is not linear and it's not supposed to be. All right, our next slide, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about that incline piece. So I have it titled Walk Up. So why do you want to walk up? Well, when you walk at an incline, you're going to be activating your muscles a little bit more because there's more resistance. So you're picking your knees up higher. Your hip flexors are being used more vigorously and your glutes are working harder too because of that added resistance. And the big bonus for me is that it also burns more calories. We know that when we add resistance, we are making strides toward our strength training. And in the long run, your muscles burn a lot more energy than other tissues. So it's a very good investment to add some incline to your day. So how do you add incline? Well, it can be as easy as walking up a hill or bumping up your treadmill, but you always want to make sure you start with a quick warm up about 5 minutes on a flat road. And so that can either just be, 1 or 0 on the treadmill, or it can be a relatively flat path or road outside. And you want to make sure you're not leaning too far forward. And if you keep doing that repetitively, it can actually create strain on your lower back and lead to injury. And then if you lean too far backwards, then you're throwing off your balance and that can lead to injury as well. So in order to avoid both of these, you want to think about standing tall. So you see me, I just sat up in my chair. And if I were standing, I would do kind of the same thing. My shoulders are back. My back has a nice posture, and you want to do that same motion when you are walking. And then when you are going uphill, those steps should be a little bit shorter and faster. I do apologize for that typo on the panel there. It's from the previous slide deck. And then, so when you're walking uphill, again, short, fast steps. And then when you go down, it's going to be opposite of that. So you're going to kind of slow it down and take longer strides. That can help your muscles recover and get back acclimated, and then also prevent injury as well. And if you've never added incline and do you want to add it, might be a little bit easier for you to start on the treadmill because you have all the control with that. Whereas with nature, sometimes we don't have all control of the elements. but it's very easy to add incline outdoors as well. So get comfortable with it on the treadmill maybe first, and then try some outdoor trails or something like that. Of course, we talk about walking here, but it also applies to jogging and running. It's really, really great for your muscles too. So our last thing that we're going to talk about today is dissing and dodging misinformation. I keep seeing in the comments, for a couple of years now, really trending, do your research, and people just say that, and then they really didn't do any research to begin with. They just saw something and they shared it without even assessing any of the credibility, which is a huge problem. Okay, so we don't want to do that. So make sure you're using reliable websites and materials as you continue in your health journey, which doesn't end with this program, of course. There are several sites that are listed in your e-guide. It's not at all an exhaustive list. So I do have some tips for you that I'll send you in a tip sheet that I created in the email. And it doesn't only apply to health information or nutrition or diet, exercise. It applies to everything. So if you run information through these tests, you should be able to really accurately assess whether or not it's credible and therefore share worthy, right? Because we want to make sure we're sharing factual, scientific information rather than treating opinions and thoughts as facts. It's okay to share opinions and thoughts, of course, especially on social media, but you need to say that's what it is and not tout it as factual, if in fact it is not. So again, never share that misinformation. If you can't establish credibility, move on and look at a different source. We always want to trust the science, and that's what we want to share as well. So how do you establish credibility? Well, you want to do your research, but really do it and not just yell it in the comments, like really do it. So you're going to kind of use these W's, right? So the who, what, when, where, how, why, type of thing. So starting off with who's the author, who created this information? Did you come across it through social media? You need to look at the authority, who wrote it, who created it, who shared it. Is there a link or original source listed somewhere? Is it pulling from a larger study? So on. And then our step 2, what is the purpose of this content? Is there any sort of potential motive? Is the content very objective, or does it seem kind of subjective? You need to closely inspect it and really assess the accuracy of the content. If it seems like it's a wild claim, then it probably is a wild claim. And you also want to look at where it's from. So what's the purpose? You need to question the source who published it. So if you look at a study, let's say, I'll have a silly example of diabetes. Let's say a diabetes medication company sponsored a study, and the study found that croissants are directly at fault for diabetes. They're correlated, they cause diabetes. If you eat croissants, you're going to get diabetes. So of course that sounds wildly inaccurate because it is, but I'm using this example to show you that, oh, maybe there's a motive here because the diabetes medication company has a motive of selling their medication. And so, there are a lot of studies out there that are funded by, let's say, maybe insurance companies, medication companies, clothing companies. And so you really have to question, make sure that there aren't any motives. And the way that you can do that is that you can see if this information has been replicated, right? So we don't really necessarily want to use something like this that's setting a precedent where we've never seen that information before. I've never read anywhere that croissants directly cause diabetes. Okay. So that's where I would question it. And when you're going on different websites, you're going to want to look for those .govs, .edus, .orgs. Those are often a lot more reputable than, let's say, a blog on a fitness website or something like that. Blogs can sometimes be a really great stepping off point, but a lot of times they're opinion led. So if it's a really good blog, they will list their sources, and you can actually go through and find that raw data and discern for yourself if the blog stuff is correct, or if they were leaving stuff out, or if they were kind of bending it a little bit to fit their agenda. And so then you're going to move on to the step 4. When was the data published? When was this material published? Is it from more than 10 years ago? Well, it's becoming a little bit dated now. So if you're finding information that seems good, but it was 15 or 20 years ago, is there something within the last 10 years that is saying the same thing? So you're going to want to make sure, just like with your SMART goals, the information that you're consuming is timely before you take it at face value. And then you're going to also want to look at that purpose and objectivity again. And then step 5, again, how does this compare to others? Is this the only study that's saying this, making this claim, or are there several other studies that are making this claim? I think that when you see something in 10 sources, you can kind of take it as common knowledge. So like, we know obesity is bad. I don't have to cite that for anybody, right? We know that it's correlated to a lot of different health outcomes, some negative health outcomes, because it's common knowledge, because it's been replicated and it's been shown over and over again in different credible sources. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good groundwork on how to suss out that good information. And again, it's important to do that for kind of everything that you're consuming, especially online, because things change all the time. And it's just, it really is the information highway where you see a lot of things, and sometimes stuff will look credible, and that's, you know, that's their game. They are trying very hard to look credible, but they aren't. You know, you're on for that test and you can't establish credibility, then I would move on to another source. So beyond this program, of course, I want you to stay connected. If you can stay connected with me, you're more than welcome to. I'm happy to be your accountability partner. You don't want to forget to enter in your active minutes. Of course, we got to track that information. And then also I'll be sending you a survey along. I would love it if you filled the survey out as well. And then if you ever need individual health coaching, please let me know. Please stay in touch with your accountability partner if you can. And again, make sure you're entering in your information, your active minutes, and getting that survey done as well. And with that, I thank you for participating in Let's Walk Florida, the 2021 fall iteration for Northeast Florida. Have our contact information listed here for you. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions or you need some guidance. And I will be doing some mindfulness and some other wellness programs coming in 2022. So please stay tuned to that. I thank you, and I wish you health and joy, and I hope to see you again soon.